By another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial. Essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Kim Carper. Kim, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Really excited, honored to have you on the show.
I'm honored to be here. This is awesome.
There's so many people in anticipation to really just dive in, to get to know you a little bit better and what you've done in the community with real estate, personally, professionally, the whole nine. So if it's all right, let's just dive into the questions.
I'm ready.
So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a Colorado Springs native, which not too many people can claim. Went to Doherty High School.
Okay.
So traveled away for college to go play basketball at TCU.
Very cool.
So that was an experience, and then married an Air Force guy, traveled all around the country, and from South Carolina to Oklahoma. Wow. Did my master's at Oklahoma, did double major at TCU, and then went up to OU and got my master's in public administration.
Wow. Okay.
So it was exciting. Got two boys. One who's a freshman at the University of Hawaii. He plays basketball for UH, 7 foot tall.
Wow.
So, yeah. Well, I'm 6'3", so it kind of just happens. I mean, it just kind of happens. Yeah.
Good genes.
And then
there
you go. And then a 7th grader.
Very cool.
So my husband Chris is a pilot, an academy grad, and now he flies for Frontier and.
Love it.
Yeah, so it's good.
You know, there's so much to address into that, and obviously your path in your life thus far, Kim. And I think it's fantastic that you are a native, because, like you said, there's no joke, and everybody out there's so few.
Very few.
Most people, there's so many people flooding into Colorado and in the Springs that it's rare to see a true native. So there's pros and cons to that, everybody, but when real estate, it's definitely a pro.
It is.
Talking about real estate and that sort of thing, kind of the business segment, so what got you into the business in the first place, and what was your progression?
So I finished my master's degree at the University of Oklahoma. I was working for the athletic department, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was supposed to go to law school, kind of changed my mind at the last minute, so went ahead and got my master's. Love school. Love school. I'd stay in school for the rest of my life. Okay. And then we bought a home in Norman, Oklahoma, and the home builder decided that he wanted to introduce me to a man named Charlie Boline at the Diller Group Real Estate in Norman, Oklahoma. That was in 1996.
Okay.
So I had just finished all of this education, and I said, I'm going to be a realtor. And I loved it. I met Charlie in 1996, and I was just absolutely fortunate, blessed to have that man, still have him in my life, still talk to him all the time, still go to Oklahoma to see this man. Taught me everything I know. I still hear myself talking to clients or whatever, and it's Charlie. Wow. He is an amazing, unique individual. He's just a phenomenal individual. And so then we traveled to South Carolina, got my license and sold in South Carolina, which was fascinating.
Okay.
Was really different. Sold properties that were pre-Civil War built, down on the peninsula in Charleston. Worked beach homes, South Carolina, the Isle of Palms and Sullivan's Island.
Cool.
And then finally made it back home here to Colorado Springs, and decided I didn't appreciate it enough growing up here.
Interesting.
Nice people, clean air, great schools. It didn't really mean a lot. I wanted to get out and see the rest of the country, and
What's
I did.
Out to like,
right? I'm like, gosh, it'd be really nice to be back home.
Yeah.
So we got back here in 2003. My husband retired from the Air Force, and this is where we are, where we will be.
Awesome. And you're with a phenomenal organization. We're actually here right now. If you guys can't see the P up here, it's actually backwards, but great firm that you're with now.
I've been here over 12 years. Almost since the beginning. I'm in a wonderful place. Okay. Wonderful place.
Yeah, very cool. Good people and that sort of thing.
Great.
Tons of knowledge around it. I think that's an important thing to base a lot of our success, at least in the series of Titans, and I think other successful professionals. It's you're guilty by association with positive or negative vibe, and just the amount of knowledge that's in this building is fantastic. So,
the attitude around here is it's second to none. It really is a different place. So
for sure, cool. Well, shout out to Platinum, everybody. So, but let's go into the next question, Kim, because I think this is a really important portion, into who you are. Is what's your why? I mean, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Makes you do what you do to the level you do it at.
Because I love it. It's fun.
Okay.
It's fun. I've been doing this for 22 years, which makes me cringe that it's gone that long.
Oh my gosh.
I've raised my boys in real estate. You know, I sold real estate long before they came along. And it's been something that I've taught them as they go along. You know, my kid would get off the bus in first grade and go, "Did you get your contract ratified, Mom?" And I'm like, "That's awesome." Wow. They've been on home inspections. But it's fun. I get to meet wonderful people who turn into my lifelong friends.
Sure.
You know, and I get to work with my friends in their single biggest financial transaction of their lives. So it's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
I mean,
I love it.
Just as simple as that, and I love it. It doesn't have to be this overblown, overthought why. I mean, you love what you do.
I love
the
what
passion is there,
I
right?
love what I do.
So, and to me, that reflects into the end result. So your friends and your family and your clients, obviously that speaks volumes. Kim, you have an impeccable reputation in the community. Obviously the people who love you and work with you and trust you, they see that passion coming through. I mean, it just speaks for itself. So I think that's a fantastic why for everybody out there to kind of really understand Kim a little bit more. So
simple, but
yeah, it works.
It works.
Simple is best. So let's go into the advisory portion of this series.
Okay.
And a lot of other professionals, whether they're seasoned or new, they love this section just to really kind of get to know what the Titans are doing to grow their business. So if you could look back at your career thus far, pick or choose one or two things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next. What does that look like for you?
And this will kind of tie into something that I wish I had known when I was younger, is maybe to not to worry so much. You know, I tend to really take on, I want to take on my clients' worries. I want them to be able to sleep at night through what is, you know, a very stressful transaction.
Right.
So I do take a lot of that on. One thing I think that did help was identifying what I do and talking about real estate more in my social circles with my kids, you know, the people that we spend a lot of time with.
Sure.
And then once they get to know you, they're kind of like, okay, this is a person that I know I can trust to handle this for me. I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to stress that things aren't going to go right because I know this person and she's got it. She's going to look out for it and we're good.
Sure. I think that there's a lot in there for people to take away, and at least for me, the way that I understand that is really understanding the stress to a transaction, understanding the wants and needs of the client, and really giving 100% service. It's not necessarily sacrificing ourselves per se,
right.
But you want to get it done and you want to get it done well. So I think that's great advice for anybody to look at to scale their business. And that's not just real estate. I think that's everything. Is the client comes first, and you really try to make sure it's the best decision for everybody involved. I mean, I love that.
Right,
personally.
and to keep things behind the curtain, so that they experience that beautiful, seamless. This was so. When somebody says to me at closing, "This was so easy. I didn't worry through any of this."
Wow.
Yes, that's exactly
did the job
how I wanted it.
Yeah.
I don't ever want them to know what goes on sometimes behind the scenes. That's not what they hired me to do.
That's beautiful.
Not what they hired me for.
Yeah. Okay, I love that, and the professionalism goes through that as well. So let's go into the tricky part of this particular interview, and it is the challenge question. So this really speaks volumes to a lot of people out there because we all deal with challenges, whether it's in the past, now, or in the future. No one's exempt. Different levels, right, of challenges and that sort of thing. But it's not so much what happens, but how we overcome that makes the difference. So Kim, if you could share a challenge that you dealt with in your life that you overcame or learned from that made you stronger because of it, what does that look like for you?
I think watching my son right now go through playing a sport at a Division I level, at a very high level, and the expectations for him, I think I'm understanding what I learned when I went through college in a different way as a college athlete.
Okay.
And the juggle, the stress, the mental stress combined with physical stress, combined with being a student at the same time, I think you find, and what I'm watching him learn is the ability to know that whenever you walk in the office, the switch goes on whether you feel like it or not. And you're able to move into that gear and get the job done, whether you're feeling like it or not. And that's that old saying, it's easier to act your way into a feeling than to feel your way into an action. And
Love
I'm
that.
watching him learn that which is something I learned and picked up, going through college and playing all that time and traveling and doing all of this and fighting for minutes and all those things that he's doing right now. You learn how to get along with different people, you learn how to get along with different coaches, and you learn how, even if you feel horrible, you walk in the office, you flip the switch, and you do it. And you do it. And that's it.
There's so much reflection for other people to look at that way. And I love that you had based off of, what one of your sons is dealing with, what you dealt with yourself. And
I just didn't realize it at the time.
It's so bizarre.
I didn't
right?
realize it. I was like, this is an interesting way to go through college. But it was an amazing way to go through college.
Sure.
I didn't realize it at the time.
And I'm hoping that he will, as time goes on, to continue,
right.
To grow and that sort of thing. And talking about pressure, anxiety, there's all kinds of things, and that translates into future for life and business. I mean, there's always pressure, especially in real estate.
Yes.
There's lots of different pressures. So what you dealt with as a child and kind of growing up and going through, it's prepared you for who you are today and handling the situations that you're handling today. So I'm really hoping that the same thing happens with your son and going through all positives. I think there's so much that we can take from any situation, good or bad, and I think that there's a lot for everybody to take away that way. So dealing with stress and challenges, just keep pushing forward. Something that stuck out to me that you mentioned, which I thought was beautiful, was getting it done either way. And sometimes you feel like it and sometimes you don't. But there's an old adage out there where I think the most important times to do it or when you don't want to do
Correct.
it. So that's a good message and takeaway for everybody out there who's listening or watching. So Kim, thank you so much for sharing that. It's not easy to air your stuff out for everybody. They, as we were calling them, the viewers. So let's go into something a little bit softer.
Okay.
Right? So let's go into the one of my favorite questions is the travel back in time question. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, what would you say to young Kim?
So it took Oliver Frascona to teach me in my 30s, probably, to be comfortable, and you would think after being a college basketball player, to be comfortable in my height. And Oliver, of all people, people go, Oliver did that?
Sure.
Oliver and I, we just had a really cool relationship. He was just an amazing man.
He is a good man.
And I look back and I look at the Charlie Bowlines and the Oliver Frascona and why Oliver decided that he needed to take it upon himself to teach me to be comfortable with being 6'3". I have no idea, but I will be forever grateful of that. And I look back at these cool people that have just come in and taught me those things that I think my self-confidence and everything would have benefited from Oliver's lesson younger than now. And maybe not to worry so much. I can worry like nobody's business. Man, I can worry about stuff that I can worry about anything. I love to worry. I love it. I know it's not productive, but it kind of gets your brain going of, if this happens, here's what I'm going to do. You're always planning and formulating a reaction to potential situations.
I think that you're pushing yourself in preparation with the worry. Shout out to my mom specifically, but when it came down to it, I was always brought up that there's no sense in worrying until you know, right? So because you work yourself up and you're building scenarios that might not happen, but I do believe in being prepared.
Contemplating.
So, yes.
Maybe we'll go with that. I'm not worrying, I'm contemplating.
I like that. See, Kim is contemplating, everybody. There's a difference. So, but when it comes down to Oliver and, just well-loved, well-respected, very missed in the community.
Gosh, I miss him all the time.
Tragic for sure when it comes down to it. But I think that being comfortable in your own skin is something that so many of us deal with.
Oh, sure. And there's not a lot of people that I don't often run into, a lot of 6'3" women out there in the world.
Sure. I totally get that. I think that learning that at an earlier age for all of us
would have been good. Yes.
Would have been good. And that's not just young Kim, but that's everybody in between. So just try to be comfortable in your skin. This is what we have and this is what we do. Do the best you can and enjoy your life. It's too short. So I think that really comes down to it. So, but thanks for sharing that. So that's really, really good stuff. Again, not just for young Kim, but everybody who's listening and watching, myself included. So let's go into the feeding of the mind question, because this one's really, really well respected out there in the community. People who are watching this, they want to know what the Titans are feeding their minds, right? So books you're reading, podcasts you listen to, influencers, social media, or coaches. Kim, what are you feeding your mind? How are you growing?
And this is hard for me. This is very hard.
Yeah.
I feel I'm not that deep.
Okay.
I'm not that profound.
This is live and real, everybody.
I am not, I can't list off all these things because honestly, I can't, and maybe this is something I picked up early too, just having to get through day to day. I can't rely on external motivation continually to do what I need to do.
Okay.
My family is busy. The last few years with my son, I was all over the country traveling with him. The recruiting process was brutal.
Wow.
It was all I could do to take care of, my business and my clients and my family.
Right.
And so I don't regularly engage in a lot of that. I pray like a fiend.
Okay.
So, some of the things maybe I follow on Twitter are constant, maybe some daily verses and reminders and that kind of thing that are amazing with how timely they show up.
Love it.
But yeah, I don't engage in a lot of that.
Okay.
I just got to get my stuff done.
And I like that. Not everybody needs a list or a regime to really get them going. They just know what's necessary. And you're extremely educated, Kim. I mean, multiple degrees, all these different things. So you're learning and growing on a daily basis with your surroundings and everything that you do with the people that you're around and transactions. So, but it doesn't just have to be, I'm reading books all the time. So I mean, you could read books every day, but if you're not applying any knowledge, it's useless. Right? So I think that's a really good point that you find that works for you. I think those daily reminders or, praying, obviously being close.
I pray about everything.
That matters, everybody.
Pray about everything.
So take that note and you can feed your mind the same way that Kim is doing through prayer.
But it's that whole thing that I don't, and maybe I just don't have time to wait to be inspired to take action. Sometimes if you just take action, the inspiration comes after that. Just gotta
write that one down. Everybody write that one down. That's so good, Kim.
It's not that.
I thought it was great. Maybe I'm easily impressed, everybody. I don't know, but I like that.
I don't have anything profound, but
no, that was great, Kim. And thank you for sharing that, for everybody out there. So, we can definitely revisit that. And there's all kinds of things that motivate. So just figure out what motivates you and go for it. So, Kim, this has been filled with amazing information and just so much of a beautiful window into getting to know you a little bit deeper. So I want to wrap everything up with a final question.
Okay.
If you could look at your career, you as a professional, you as a person, and sum yourself up with a quote or a mantra that you live by, what does that look like for Kim Carper?
I don't know that I have a quote necessarily.
Sure.
I think I am learning the older I get how blessed, how lucky I am, and I'm thankful for that. I'm extremely thankful. I've just had a lot of amazing people put in my life. My clients are awesome. I mean, I end up working with people that I'm like, how did I even get so lucky to work with these people? Because they're just really amazing people, and I'm just thankful. I'm just really grateful. It's been a good ride, and I'm having a ball, and it's just fun.
Well, and I think that really sums you up all the way through. And I definitely want to push back a little bit on the luck scenario that you're throwing out there. I think that in true reality, we get back what we put out. And I think that you're putting positive nature and good vibes, and I think the light attracts light. So the clients and the friends and family mentors that you have, they're around you for a reason. And I think that that's something to bear note of. That's for everybody included. So, Kim, I think that sums you up beautifully as far as I'm concerned. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's about it.
Cool.
I love it. I really do. That's why I've done this for 22 years and have no plans on stopping. And like I said, I love the people. I love the people from Charlie Bowline to Oliver to all my clients that have come in that it's just been cool.
Love it. Well, Kim, it's been an honor to have you. Seriously, you're an official Titan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Are you kidding me?
Awesome just to have an opportunity like this.
Thank
you.
Yep, and hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Thanks so much for your time and attention, your love and support. As always, live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.